Welcome to Yachts on Wheels. Today we have a special guest, an RV dealer from the company Yachts on Wheels from Tyumen, Russia. Evgeny, tell me, where do people from Tyumen like to travel to? It turns out that it's the Black Sea. So people from Tyumen, they like to go to the Black Sea. That's the most popular destination for caravanning, the Black Sea and Crimea. We've equipped our vehicles with stationary air conditioning, which has set us apart from other RVs that are available here in the region, and we've been starting to have some success. The typical scenario is that people rent an RV for 2 weeks, they go to Crimea or the Black Sea, and slightly less popular destinations are Baikal, Altai, and sometimes Kazakhstan. So it's pretty much the same as Moscow. People have a tendency to want to go south to the sea, where it's warm and sunny. It's pretty much the same. But there's another thing that sets you apart is I believe you rent out a bimobile truck camper on a Nissan Navara chassis. It's the Husky 230, right? Yeah, we decided to experiment, and we've been renting them out for 1 full season so far. They're not quite as popular as the bigger motorhomes, but there definitely is some demand. People usually take them out into nature. It's usually just 2 people, but sometimes bigger groups if they urgently need an RV and we don't have any other vehicles available. And it's turned out to be a pretty reliable rental vehicle. It turns out that there's really not very many things that can break on it, and it stands up pretty well to the Russian roads here around Tyumen. Evgeny, I know you have a big family and you love to travel in motorhomes yourself, so where do you like to travel to? I mean, aside from the fact that you took the big trip here to Moscow, where do you like to travel to? I gotta say that I got into caravanning from a general love for travel. We love to travel, and our favorite destination is the Altai Mountains. We've been to just about every place you can get to in the Altai Mountains in a front-wheel drive motorhome. And for everywhere else where you need 4-wheel drive, we just took the bimobile Husky on the Nissan chassis with us, and we went everywhere that we couldn't go with a front-wheel drive Adria. So we've been all over the Altai Mountains, we've been to Kazakhstan in the south and the east, and the Ural Mountains. If you had to recommend some places to our viewers or to our clients, where would you recommend? What places can you recommend to anybody that they should definitely go and check out? Well, whenever we find interesting places in our region, in the Ural Mountains and Siberia, we always try to post them on our website. And on our website, there is a special section with different routes, and they're all organized by region and by how long it'll take if you leave from Tyumen. And it tells you what there is to see there and all the important things, where you can park, where you can sleep, where there's water, and where there's electricity. But if you're leaving from Moscow, then it's probably got to be the Ural Mountains. Bashkiria in the south, the northern Urals, both on the western side, in Perm Krai, from Cherdyn or Nirob to Perm, and the eastern side, starting in Verkhaturye, to see different historical or religious sites. And when it comes to Tyumen, the pearl of Tyumen Oblast is Tobolsk, the Tobolsk Kremlin, and the Abalaksky Monastery, and the hot springs. So Tyumen is actually a pretty interesting place for caravanning itself. Then to the east of us, we have the Republic of Altai. We like to separate it into 2 parts. There's the touristic part, where there's a lot of tourists from Novosibirsk. It's interesting to visit during the May holidays or in September or October, but in the summer there's a lot of people there. Then further down Highway R256, past the Chike-Taman Pass, there are a lot of wild camping spots. You can stop there and find a great spot in the wild, or some parking spots with nothing but some lumber in them, and enjoy nature, climb the mountains, find petroglyphs, collect rocks, or swim in the mountain rivers. How is Mongolia? How are the roads? What stood out to you there? We haven't been to Mongolia yet in these RVs. We've been to the border and back, but we haven't been into Mongolia itself yet. But an interesting trip we did was to Kazakhstan. in the east and the south of Kazakhstan. They got blue lakes. It's hard to find a camping spot, though. It's forbidden to park in the nature reserves there, so it is hard to find a camping spot. So we go to Lake Balkhash. For us from Tyumen, it's practically the Black Sea. It's 35 or 40 degrees there, really warm with slightly salty water. You can really relax there. There aren't many people around, and there are Russian military bases, so the locals there speak Russian. Then there is Almaty, the old capital, where you have the big Almaty Lake. We went up there to 2,300 meters above sea level in an Adria and a Nissan Navara, no problem. And then there's the Sharon Canyon, which is a little to the east. It's a beautiful place. They say it looks a lot like the Grand Canyon in the US. I haven't been there, so I can't say for sure, but it is a beautiful place. Then along the eastern border of Kazakhstan, there's a really nice road along the mountains that goes right to Altai. So you end up right in the Republic of Altai on the road to Barnaul. So how many kilometers does a trip like this usually entail? I mean, you're talking about these pretty long trips, so how many kilometers on average? Usually a trip to Altai Mountains is 5,000 or 6,000 kilometers there and back, and Kazakhstan up to 7,000 kilometers. So tell us about these wild parking spots, because sometimes people seem to think that you need to have an organized campground, but it sounds like that you've traveled a lot in these more wild places with no electric hookups, etc. So how do you do it? Tell us about it in a few words. To be able to travel like that, of course, we've had to modify the RVs. All of our RVs have solar panels and dual batteries. We even have funnels and a bunch of bottles and buckets. So we get our water from mountain rivers that's clean, clear, and tasty, or from clean lakes. Electricity hookups, well, there's no cell service there anyway, so you don't need power. The solar panels give enough power for the lights and the hot water heater to work. When it's sunny, both batteries are almost always fully charged. 2 100-watt panels is enough. So you're really not limited. You got heat and light. Yeah, hot water, lighting, and heat, they all work wonderfully. Then in the winter, when it's cold, 2 fully charged batteries last about 3 days. Then if the panels are covered in snow, then every 3 days you'll have to go for a ride for 3 or 4 hours to charge up. Right, for the engine to generate some power. Yeah, when you're idling, you don't generate much. So tell me about winter caravanning in your region. So why would you need to do winter caravanning? Is there skiing around there or what? Maybe you can just tell me about it. Well, we definitely don't rent out as many vehicles in the winter as we do in the summer. But there are 2 main groups of people that rent in the winter. It's skiers, since Tyumen is a flat city and the only little hill we have is a floodplain. So anybody that wants to go skiing goes to the Ural Mountains, which is about 500 kilometers away from the city. And there are a lot of ski resorts there, but barely any of them have hotels, and they're all 20 to 50 kilometers away from the nearest city. So typically to go from Tyumen, you'd have to find a hotel and then go back and forth. But with an RV, you can just pull up to any ski hill. You can park in the parking lot. Your trunk is always clean and dry as opposed to the top of a car. And usually it's 5 or 6 young people. They take an RV at about noon on Friday. In the evening, they're already there. We've made agreements with the ski hills there that they let us come and park at night and plug into the electricity, since in the winter the heaters take up a lot of power. So they sleep that night and they ski for 2 days, then they go back, and on Sunday evening they're already in Tyumen. So that's the first group of people. And to make it more comfortable to caravan in the winter, we made a few changes to our RVs. We heard stories that you can run heating from the propane tank compartment, and we installed an air circulation system with a regulator and a thermostat to make sure we don't overheat the tanks. And the second change we made was we installed additional air ducts by the beds in the back that make it a bit warmer than it would be otherwise. And these adjustments make it possible to sleep comfortably in temperatures as low as -25 with their diesel heaters. Tell us more about using a Truma diesel heater in the winter. As far as I understand, you're one of the first in the company to try them out in the field, as they say. Truma diesel heaters are great. They allow us to use our RVs in our Siberian climate year-round, without any time limits. And since it takes its fuel right from the vehicle's fuel tank, you don't have to worry about always keeping it fueled up. The Truma diesel heaters do require more electricity, though, so we had to add batteries. So less than 2 batteries wouldn't be enough? Yeah, it wasn't enough for 2 nights, so to be safe, we put in 2 100 amp hour batteries that do the trick. One of the key features of the Truma diesel heaters is that they work continuously, even at low heat. So when you just need a little heat, it's not -30 outside, but rather -5. They give you a small, continuous stream of warm air to maintain a constant temperature all night, as opposed to propane furnaces that turn on, bring up the temperature, and then turn off. It makes for a quieter, more comfortable sleep. Well, we're already talking about Truma diesel heaters. Let's talk a bit about the difference between diesel heaters and propane heaters. I mean, other than the obvious difference in fuel, what other differences are there? Well, I do have to mention the fuel because in Russia, you still can't get propane at every gas station. Sure, in Tyumen, now you can get propane just about anywhere in the city, but that's not the case in all regions of Russia. The next thing is that on a freezing night, when a propane tank runs out, you have to get dressed and go outside to switch the tanks or install an automatic changeover valve. And by our calculations, in freezing weather, a propane tank will only last you a day and a half. So every 3 days, you need to be near a gas station with propane. Diesel heaters use a maximum of 0.7 liters per hour. So on one tank of diesel, you can easily go about 5 days without needing to fuel up at all. The second important thing is that the diesel Truma gives you a continuous stream of hot air, and you don't have the stopping and starting. Evgeny, tell us about the people that rent from you. Who are they? Where are they from? How'd they find out about you? How did they get into caravanning? Maybe just give us a portrait of a typical client. Most of our renters are from Tyumen. There's a small percent of our clients from nearby counties or Omsk and Chelyabinsk. Do you ever have clients that come from far away, maybe from Moscow or St. Petersburg? They want to see your region, but they don't want to drive so far, so they just fly in and rent an RV here? No, we rarely have clients like that. Usually they come for business. I mean, the people that fly in from afar usually have some business here. So they come for business trips, and if they need to have some meetings or inspect some work sites and they don't want to stay in hotels, like if they move around a lot. Yeah, one time we had some guys from Roscosmos who were gathering pieces from a fallen spacecraft. There simply weren't any hotels where they needed to go. Well, they went out to where it fell, right? Yeah. Or, for example, if somebody needs to visit 10 or 20 small towns in the Ural Mountains, sometimes they need to do it in a couple days in places where there are no trains or even buses. Is it true that you once rented an RV out to a patriarch? Yes, we once had a very unexpected client. An event organizer from Yekaterinburg called us and asked for an RV for a very important client for 2 days. But they needed an RV with no stickers. We didn't agree right away, but they insisted that it's a patriarch and their policies don't allow there to be any phone numbers on the vehicle. So eventually we agreed and we provided them with an RV. They removed all the stickers just like it was new. They even removed the Adria stickers. And the RV accompanied the patriarch when we had the 100-year anniversary of the execution of the Romanov family in Yekaterinburg. And they had a procession from the Church of All Saints to Garnina Yama, to the place where they found the remains of the Romanov family. And The RV accompanied the patriarch the whole time and had his clothes and everything that he needed for the journey. They said that he might ride in the RV for some of the distance, but in the end, he walked the whole way, all 20 kilometers. So what else can you tell us about Tyumen? In Tyumen, there are some very active people that believe that Tyumen should become the capital of the film industry in Russia. They founded a company called Mediopolis. They actively promote it and try to encourage more people to make videos, write scripts, or become photographers and producers. They host yearly events to popularize filmmaking and video editing. And they organize an event called A Film in 72 Hours. They put together teams of young amateur filmmakers that have 72 hours to develop a script and create a short film. We've been partnering with them for 2 years now. They use our RVs, and sometimes they film the RVs or film in the RVs, and they edit in the RVs. This year we gave them 3 RVs. They hired drivers, and 26 teams took turns using the RVs to take part in the competition. One team made a beautiful short film about the RV itself. Others just used the RV during the process of creating their films. This gives young future filmmakers the opportunity to see that RVs are great to use when filming. After the first event last year, 2 new companies that were founded shortly thereafter already contacted us and rented RVs to travel to the north and film some commercial projects or some advertisements. So 4 or 5 of them would get into an RV and drive 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers in 3 or 4 days. They film all day and edit at night or vice versa, and at the end of the week, they're done. Thank you very much for your time, Evgeny. Thanks to all of you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, write your questions in the comments, and come visit Tyumen. Thank you. We'll be waiting for you.